Commuters of a part of Misebo commercial zone cannot take it any longer. The rains have led to the flooding on the road. The CEP examinations officially commenced on Monday, the 6th of June in various parts of Benin Republic. The impact of the fuel hike in Nigeria is felt by various African countries, and Benin Republic is not excluded. Good afternoon, our dear viewers. Welcome to the 1 p.m. news edition with Hazel Ogoigbe, coming to you live and direct from Golfe TV Africa. Now to the news in detail, starting from the local scene. The CEP examinations officially commenced on Monday, the 6th of June in various parts of Benin Republic. In Godome, there were 27 centers, and the examination commenced seamlessly without any hitches. More information in the following report.
Je suis sûr que c'est ici que nous verrons lancer les épreuves dans Godome.
I am sure that it is here we are launching the examination in Godome, because Godome has 27 examination centers, and here was chosen, so I am sure that this hall will produce the first in the examination in Benin Republic. In Godome, in the commune of Abomey-Calavi, Saint Famille College, situated in this commune. The Saint Famille College is the school launching the CEP examination. By 8:30 on Monday, the 5th of June 2023, in the Godome district, the head of the district proceeded to launch the primary school certificate in Togudo Center 2.
Et nous avons procédé au lancement des épreuves du CEP.
We proceeded to launch the CEP examination. I'm really proud of the organization strategy. Apart from that, observe that everything is unfolding in a very seamless way, and they are in adequate conditions. I'm impressed and satisfied with what is on ground, and I'm grateful to all those involved in this process. All the actors, I applaud them. For the head of the center, there were no incidents of lateness or even any other incidents. The head of the educational region present at the ceremony made a call to the parents of the children, and he had this to say.
Aux parents d'élèves, je vais leur dire de continuer de bien entretenir les enfants et au sortir des salles de classe à la fin de la journée de bien.
To the parents of the pupils, I want to tell them to continue taking good care of their children, to watch over them, so that throughout the period of the examination, the children are in good conditions. I wish all the candidates. The head of the region observed that the examination commenced well in his territory, without any challenges and hitches. He wished the candidates writing the CEP examination good luck in the ongoing examination.
The impact of the fuel hike in Nigeria is felt by various African countries, and Benin Republic is not excluded. This commentary explores the impact of the increment in fuel price in Nigeria on the fuel price in Benin Republic.
Road users in Misebo commercialized zone cannot take it any longer, courtesy the flooding on the road in Misebo. According to this opinion leader, the flooding on this road is a recent development. This was not the case before, and he had this to say.
Je vais d'abord remercier la télévision Golfe FM pour avoir fait.
First of all, I want to appreciate Golfe TV Africa for coming here, because I've reported the situation on ground. This is not the first time. What we're experiencing on this route is not funny at all. Once it rains, the roads are blocked. Before, water does not gather like this. But since the construction of the tarred roads, this flooding commenced. We eventually discovered that they did not create a pathway for water to flow out. When rain falls, the area is flooded because there is no pathway for the water to pass. This is the cause of our problem we are facing here. What you are seeing now is even better. Before, the water was more. Before, Misebo was not like this. It is the city center of Cotonou. But today, Misebo, you would observe that once it rains, it is a total catastrophe. Faced with the situation on ground, the Technical Services Department of Cotonou Town Hall has been asked to go out into the field, and this is creating a loss of earnings for the state and the population.
Tellement qu'à gagner pour l'État passer, les autres là, ils ont leurs boutiques, les clients ne peuvent pas passer pour pouvoir acheter quand il y a quel client qui va rentrer.
Clients cannot enter into the stagnant water to buy things. We're asking the authorities to take the necessary steps to salvage the situation. This is the city center. We are in the 5th region, and it is the largest region that contains the autonomous port, the presidency, and a lot of other important places. They need to find a situation to this problem on ground.
Le monsieur que moi j'avais appelé à l'adresse, il me fait comprendre que le goudron qu'ils ont fait là, l'asphalte qu'ils ont fait là.
The official I called explained to me, and it stated that the paved roads the government constructed, the third road is the reason water is gathering. Rather than putting a gutter here by the other side, and the gutter would transport the stagnant water to the lagoon, they did not do that. Rather, they blocked it. So the stagnant water does not have a passage out. The technician said that this is the part of the road that needs to be worked on, and there is also a part of the road that needs to be worked on. People need to be happy. They need to pass, because right now the road is flooded, and the flood is a source of obstruction. People cannot pass the road with the flood comfortably. According to the officials from the Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development, the asphalting project is not the cause of the increase in the flooding in the area. Furthermore, the Ministry of Environment pointed out that the project is not intended to replace rainwater drainage programs, though it may help reduce the problem.
Away from the local scene, crossing over to the wider African scene, moving over to the conflict in Sudan. Now, fearing to return home but desperate to escape Sudan's civil war, some people are resorting to extreme measures. Now, what sort of extreme measures? The answer is found in the following report.
Since Ethiopia's civil war started in 2020, neighbouring Sudan has received 70,000 Ethiopian refugees. Now, many find themselves caught up in the maelstrom of Sudan's civil war, which started on April 15th. An Ethiopian refugee in a camp near the Sudanese city of Gadaref, who asked to remain anonymous out of fear for his family's safety, told VOA by phone,
"Since there is no medicine, and there is a shortage of water and food. Also, there is a high market price, and there is no way also where the refugees can get money, even from family abroad, since the banks are not working."
He says this situation has persisted since Sudan's war started. Although Ethiopia's war has broadly come to an end thanks to a peace process started in November, Ethiopia's Tigray region is still far too dangerous for most refugees to return. On June 1st, Human Rights Watch said a campaign of ethnic cleansing against Tigrayans is ongoing despite the peace agreement. Before Sudan's conflict started, VOA spoke to Tigrayan refugees in Khartoum. They said they feared for the lives of their family members still inside Tigray. Asked if she had managed to escape to Sudan with all her children, Shamsia Ibrahim, an Ethiopian refugee, said this.
Two are still there. The other four are here with me. People told me that my son is still living there right now. We can't reach them by phone, and I don't know if they're okay or not.
A report by the British newspaper The Guardian on May 15th said Ethiopian refugees in Sudan are falling into the hands of human traffickers who promise passage to Europe. Some are even being kidnapped by them. Also speaking before Sudan's civil war broke out, another Tigray refugee whose name we have changed to protect his safety. He is from the Ethiopian town of Humera. VOA visited Humera last year and heard testimonies of vicious bouts of ethnic cleansing. He says he tried paying traffickers to take him to Europe through Libya rather than stay in Sudan.
We spent about 2 weeks in a huge building like a warehouse. They used to give us water and 2 pieces of bread a day. There were no houses there. That's why we didn't leave the building.
Having no money left, he was able to return to Khartoum. Aid groups say Ethiopian refugees in Sudan are caught between a rock and a hard place.
For the people from Ethiopia, it's clear there was some progress in a peace accord, but there wasn't a process for returning people, or that wasn't necessarily their immediate intention. Most of them did want to go back at some point, as our understanding, but not the conditions weren't right, particularly in the places where they'd come from in Western Tigray.
As fighting in Khartoum continues, some flow of aid into sites in Sudan occupied by Ethiopian refugees has resumed, after initially being halted entirely by the conflict. Henry Wilkins for VOA News.
Away from that, back to the local scene. The impact of the fuel hike in Nigeria is felt by various African countries. This commentary explores the impact in our country, Benin Republic.
On Monday, the 29th of May 2023, during the inauguration speech of the President of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he announced the removal of the fuel subsidy by the government of Nigeria, stating that the government of Nigeria can no longer afford this. This decision has impacted countries in Western Africa that rely on Nigeria, the oil-producing West African nation, to get fuel. The impact of this decision is felt in Benin Republic, one of the Francophone countries that borders Nigeria from the west. In Nigeria, the present official fuel price is now between 500 to 550 naira. This has caused a price hike in the price of petrol in Benin Republic from 500 CFA francs. Petrol has skyrocketed and is now sold between 700 to 800 CFAs along the road, and in filling stations, petrol is sold for 650 CFAs. This is leading to long queues in petrol stations in Benin Republic. Sadly, the announcement of Nigeria's president is not just felt in Nigeria by Nigerians, but the impact is also felt outside the shores of Nigeria, and Benin Republic is one of the countries affected by this decision.
The conflict in Sudan has led to a hike in the number of refugees. Now, this report examines the internal politics at work in the internally displaced camps and the challenges refugees face before receiving humanitarian aid.
The port of Sudan along the Red Sea, it has become a crucial center for aid deliveries, as well as a destination for government officials and diplomats fleeing the distant capital. But those dedicated to ensuring aid supplies reach those in need are meeting a myriad of challenges.
So it is very complicated. It's millions of people that are in those places that are unreachable at the moment. Often we cannot move because the warehouse is being looted, or because it's unsafe for our staff to move, or because for the transporter it's unsafe to go.
The acts of lawlessness are obstructing efforts by humanitarian organizations to provide assistance to millions of people in need. Their movements are often hindered due to the unsafe conditions. They say truck drivers have been detained severally and supplies seized. They say the situation has become dire. On June 1st, WFP's warehouse in El Obeid, a city southwest of Khartoum, was attacked. The attack on the warehouse, one of WFP's largest logistics bases in Africa, put food supplies for 4.4 million people at risk. The UN agency says it has already lost $60 million worth of supplies in Sudan.
As much as we can respond, we are responding and we are providing support, but it's extremely challenging to meet all the needs and to reach everyone wherever they are.
There's just the general state of lawlessness. The lootings have been widespread, and just like the general criminality. And that, of course, adds a different layer and makes it an extremely volatile and difficult environment to be working in.
Communications have broken down, impeding the coordination of aid efforts and hindering payment processes for aid workers who now rely on mobile applications due to the disruption of the regular banking systems. They say securing visas to Sudan or travel permits to deliver relief food inside the country has become a struggle.
We need more supplies to be reaching Khartoum and also Darfur. And unfortunately, under the current circumstances, it has been extremely difficult to make sure that those supplies they get from warehouses to where they need to be.
General Mohammed Othman Mohammed, the military head of Red Sea State, reassures the public regarding aid distribution. He says there have been only minor delays due to security procedures.
There are no obstacles in distribution of aid, but there are small holdups during security procedures for delivery of aid to the intended recipient. The committee responsible for handling aid include the Ministry of Health, Humanitarian Assistance Commission, the Sudanese Red Crescent, and all the relevant parties.
The United Nations estimates that the number of people facing hunger will exceed 19 million in the coming month.
Nigeria's main labor union, Nigeria Labour Congress, has said it plans to go on strike from Wednesday to protest against the hike in fuel prices and what will be the first big test for the West African nation's new president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, after he has scrapped fuel subsidy.
Nigeria's main labor union has said it plans to go on strike from Wednesday to protest against the tripling of fuel prices in what would be the first big test for new President Bola Tinubu after he scrapped a costly fuel subsidy. The price increase has led to a sharp rise in transport fares.
NNPC, a private limited liability company that illegally announced a price regime in the oil sector, refuses to revert itself for negotiation to continue, that the Nigerian Labour Congress and all its affiliates will withdraw their services and commence protest nationwide.
The Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, after an emergency meeting of the union's executive in the capital, Abuja, said all its affiliates will withdraw their services and commence protests nationwide.
That until a government is properly constituted and the people who will negotiate with Labour are such people with mandate and capacity to commit the government of the day, such negotiations may not be valid wherever.
Nigeria's fuel subsidy cost the government billions of dollars annually, but was popular as it helped keep prices low. The government says lifting the subsidy will help it alleviate a funding crisis.
Somalia's National Economic Council has endorsed a new national development blueprint. It seeks to usher in what President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud's government calls an era of stability and prosperity to ensure high living standards for the people of Somalia.
In 2060, Somalia will mark 100 years since gaining independence from the British and Italian colonial authorities respectively. Somalia's National Economic Council recently endorsed the Centennial Vision 2060 as the new national development blueprint. It will anchor the country's future development plans. Hassan Adam Hosso is the executive director of Somalia's National Economic Council. He also serves as President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud's chief economic advisor. He says Somalia cannot remain in its current state and must change.
Centennial Vision 2060 is a long-term development blueprint envisioning a developed, free and prosperous Somalia that is globally competitive and region leader by the year 2060. We cannot remain hostage to the current status quo where our people live in abject poverty, political instability and insecurity. So we want our people to move from the current status quo into an era where they enjoy the life they deserve.
Authorities say Mission 2060 is a significant step forward for Somalia's development strategy and serves as proof of the government's commitment to a long-term plan.
As part of the development of this vision, we'll be engaging in extensive consultations with the federal member states and the private sector and all walks of life. However, we have now a number of core pillars and core principles. The core principles to start with are to articulate the core national values of this country. Second is provide homegrown solutions to our ills and problems. And third is a shared commitment to the implementation and the development of this vision.
During the recently concluded Somalia Economic Conference, Prime Minister Hamza Abdi Barre urged partners to look beyond the country's current and past challenges and invest in it.
To our international partners, I urge you to see beyond the challenges that Somalia has faced in the past. Look at the immense opportunities that await you here. Invest in our industries, transfer your technology and expertise, and be a catalyst for change.
With the gradual return of peace and stability to the Horn of African nation, the Somali government is working to capitalize on the unexplored natural resources such as oil and gas in its Indian Ocean territory. That process requires huge investment in terms of manpower and financial resources. Somalia's Vision 2060 is working on to boost the economic potentials in sectors like agriculture and livestock to achieve a self-sufficient country.
You're still tuned into the 1 p.m. news on Golfe TV Africa, and it is the African newspaper review. And today we're going to be starting on the front page of the Punch Nigeria. Now let's get started. Punch Nigeria says National Labour Congress kicks as court stop strike. The police won hoodlums. And still on that, Labour faults interim order. Bank aviation workers join planned strike. IG orders police commissioners to prevent breakdown of law and order. Now, still on the trial of the presidential elections, Atiku witnesses alleged poll fraud. And this one says 1 billion naira petrol, other smuggled goods since the May. Customs speaking on the pages of the Punch Nigeria. Now, this story says Tinubu will turn economy around. Jimoh Ibrahim speaks. And a sad one says Unilag undergraduate shot dead over stolen phone on the pages of the Punch Nigeria. Still on the Punch Nigeria, federal government records 930 billion 2 months fiscal deficit, and that is the Central Bank of Nigeria speaking on the front page of the Punch Nigeria. Now, crossing away from the Punch Nigeria, we're still of course on the African scene. Let's cross over to the front page, Liberia. Let's see the stories that are making the rounds on the front page, Liberia. Okay, I can see money. And on the front page, Liberia, the top stories read, National Election Commission to forward duplicated names on biometric voters rolled to Ministry of Justice. 27,897 double registrations. That's a whole lot of registrations that are double. And this story says no minister would take pay on the pages of the front page, Liberia. Now, crossing away from the front page, going over to the Daily News Zimbabwe, that's the stories that are making the rounds in Zimbabwe today. Now, the Daily News Zimbabwe, it says, poor preps will bond to opposition. Analysts warn as party stomp for August 23 polls. And it says 3K TV bags yet another award on the pages of the Daily News Zimbabwe. Now, moving over to the Citizen Tanzania, let's see the stories that are making the round on the front page of the Citizen Tanzania today. Now, in the Citizen Tanzania, it says VP wants action to curb resurgence of plastic bags. And it says loan recovery, private and informal sector lagging behind, says HESLB. Now, this story says how to boost uptake of digital payment. Low use of digital payment systems has been blamed on lack of access to financial services, low financial and digital literacy, high transaction cost, and doubt about the security of digital channel on the pages of the Citizen Tanzania. Now, crossing away from the Citizen Tanzania, moving over to the pages of the Guardian Post Cameroon. Let's see the stories that are making the rounds. And it says, to reinforce Northwest and Southwest and Far North reconstruction, BIA increases 2023 state budget by 38.1 billion francs CFAs. And this one says, PM Dion Ngute, Cameroonians business executives win investors. And the story says, we, Member of Parliament Honorable Malumba, preaches living together and insists that diversity is the country's strength, on the pages of the Guardian Post. Now, this last story says President Paul Biya prioritizing reconstruction of crisis-hit regions, on the pages of the Guardian Post Cameroon. And with this, our dear viewers, this is where we conclude today's edition of the African Newspaper Review on Golfe TV Africa and also the 1 p.m. news with Hazel Ogoigbe. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Le Gaiman est un acteur cybercriminel qui utilise illégalement les nouveaux systèmes informatiques.